Greetings viewers, Eric the Car Guy here. I am also known as ETCG1 when posting videos to this channel, and I start things off on ETCG1 with, hey, if it's your birthday, I have a very special digital confection for you. In fact, this is my very own 51st birthday cake that my wife made me last week. So here it is. I'm gonna share my birthday cake with you. I hope you enjoy it, and believe me, the IRL version, totally delicious. My wife makes me one of these like once a year. It's totally from scratch, and it is amazing. I don't have a whole lot of time today. Why? Because I've been spending, well, a couple of weeks now on the Odyssey on the front end. Now, you remember the work that I did in the back with the reconstruction and all that other kind of stuff. Well, I am continuing that path all the way up to the front of the vehicle, and for a vehicle that I don't like very much, I am certainly investing a lot of time and effort. And a lot of that is for your benefit, but also for mine, because I want to see what I can do. And also, I'm practicing. I'm practicing this Honda restoration thing for the day when I finally get to that Type R and start doing something with that. But the topic of today's discussion is take your time and do it right the first time, because one of the reasons why this Pilot is jamming me up, and it's not just this Pilot. I've worked on several vehicles recently, and every single problem, it seems like, every single problem with those vehicles was the result of somebody else's carelessness, negligence, or just downright ignorance. And it is a pain in the butt to have to deal with that, because if you don't do it right, and somebody else has to go back in and fix it, oftentimes that involves way more time than it would have taken to just do it right in the first place. They say a stitch in time saves 9. I often find myself sort of like saying that mantra inside my head as I work. And even though I don't want to, you know, I came from the flat rate dealership world, and believe me, and Honda at that, believe me, I wouldn't spend a spare second on anything that I didn't have to. But my approach in the beginning was, I took my time and I made sure I did all the things that I wanted to make sure that were done, so that I did everything that the customer was paying for. Now, over time, you work at the dealership, you work on the same vehicle, you do the same thing a lot of times over and over again. So it becomes something like a muscle memory. And I used to bristle when people used to say, Eric, you did that really fast. And I'm like, no, I did not. I did it efficiently because I didn't skip any steps. I went through the trouble to try to do, well, I might have skipped steps, and the steps that I skipped were what I consider to be irrelevant, torquing stuff, unless I'm assembling an engine, something like that. Point is, I found those places where I could save the time and still put out what I felt was a good product. You can't just go in and just try to go fast from the get and try to be, you know, just Johnny Mechanic, whatever. Believe me, there's a lot of you out there that watch this show that aren't professional mechanics, and I'm grateful, and I'm hoping you're learning stuff. But you don't have the same perspective of going into work and working on vehicles for a living. It's way different than it is like doing something on the weekends, or even if you've been a DIY mechanic for years. Once you have the pressure and stress of that vehicle that's in your bay that needs something, and you already took it apart so you can't really take it off the lift, and now you've got 5 other vehicles outside that you've got to finish and work on before the day is done. You find yourself rolling around on the ground and you're doing whatever you can to try to make a living, because that's the game in the flat rate system. I totally get it. But I think a lot of it is actually ignorance more than carelessness, but I think a lot of it does fall on the carelessness side. And as I said, I have probably spent, just on this Pilot alone, an extra day's worth of work just fixing screw-ups and fixing things that should have never needed fixing to begin with. I guess this is just my little rant after a long week of work on this Pilot, after what seems like a lot of work doing things that I really shouldn't have had to do. Well, okay, it's not just the ignorant people putting things together and screwing things up. This Pilot, shift cable for one, that thing. When you see the videos of this stuff, you'll see what I'm talking about, how it was rigged. And I'm sorry I don't have a picture of the before, but the after is I had to weld this thing back together. Otherwise, I was putting in a very expensive, very difficult to install shift cable. And that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. This stuff cost me time. And, you know, me, the guy that's trying to do it right, it cost me more time. And I guess that's why, as a technician who cares, you get a bit frustrated because you're trying to do a good job and it seems like everybody else isn't. And that may not necessarily be completely true, but it certainly feels that way some days. So shout out to my fellow professional technicians that are out there. If you're dealing with this, let me know your story about the worst, careless, stupidest thing that you've seen down in the comments, or as a DIY or just a customer, maybe there was something a mechanic did that unfortunately completely screwed you over, and I'm sorry for that. But that's what today's topic is about. Take your time, do it right the first time. Don't screw it up and leave it for somebody else to fix, because that just sucks, because right now I'm that guy. Anyhow, I look forward to your comments down below. Links in the description to additional videos. Also, link to air@thecarguy.com, which is where I ask you to go if you have automotive questions. I post ETCG1 videos on Monday, so stop back and see me then. Be safe, have fun, stay dirty. Thank you so much for watching today. I will see you next time.